A portion of this video was sponsored by ProClip USA.
This is the new 2022 Mercedes-AMG SL55, and it's the totally new redesigned Mercedes SL. For years, the SL has been a flagship model in Mercedes-Benz lineup, and it used to signify sportiness and performance and style. But in recent years, it has turned into more of a luxury, comfortable, floaty, kind of uninspiring car. But that changes now. The new SL is completely new with a totally renewed focus on performance and excitement, and today I'm going to review it and show you all the quirks and features. Before I get started, I want to talk about ProClip USA, which specializes in high-quality phone mounts. If you're looking for a safe and sturdy spot in your car to place your phone for GPS navigation or hands-free calling or listening to your favorite music or podcasts, ProClip has you covered. That's because ProClip mounts are machine-tooled out of high-quality plastic, not cheap stuff that breaks easily. They're also designed specifically for your exact car. You can see it in my Land Rover Defender. The ProClip mount snaps tightly into place for a solid and secure fit, and ProClip makes mounts that seamlessly fit into a wide variety of different vehicles. You may pay more for a ProClip mount, but you get what you pay for with high quality parts and an excellent integration into your car, and frankly, it's worth it. Of course, ProClip mounts are specifically designed to fit the iPhone and many other types of popular smartphones, and you can choose between various configurations, including with or without a case and with or without charging. So don't settle for a flimsy phone vent clip. Check out ProClip for a high-quality phone mount, and use the description in the link below to get your ProClip specifically designed for your car. Alright, time for the quirks and features of the new SL. But first, a quick thank you to Mercedes-Benz of Temecula for providing me with this SL. Mercedes-Benz of Temecula is the Mercedes-Benz dealership here in Temecula, north of San Diego, and they have all of the latest Mercedes-Benz models, including a few units of the new SL, which has just started to arrive. You can check out Mercedes-Benz of Temecula by clicking the link in the description below. But let's talk SL, and let's start with all the massive changes to this new SL compared to the old one. The SL is a famous product in Mercedes-Benz history, going back to the 1950s with the Gullwing, which was a true supercar and a style icon. But over the years, the SL has evolved from a special car at the top of the Mercedes-Benz lineup, leading the way in performance and design. It became kind of a cushy, luxury touring car that old men take golfing at the country club. But the new model refocuses the whole thing. There are a lot of big changes. The main one is the new SL is AMG only. That means it's only offered as a performance car. You don't have any standard non-AMG models. There's two versions. This is the SL55, the base model, which starts around $140,000, uses a twin-turbo V8 with about 470 horsepower. Or you can upgrade to the SL63, which uses the same twin-turbo V8, but that has 580 horsepower, massive performance from this new SL, and a big upgrade over the luxury cruiser of the past model. But there are many other major changes to the new SL beyond the standard AMG performance. Another one is all-wheel drive. No previous version of the SL has ever offered all-wheel drive. The new one comes standard with all-wheel drive. All new SL models are all-wheel drive only, and that helps get the most out of this newfound performance. Figures 0 to 60 in the high 3-second range for the SL55, and in the low 3-second range for the SL63, a true performance car. And another major change to the new SL you can see right in front of you, back seats. The SL has virtually never been offered with back seats before. There have been a few models here and there that offered it, but it was very rare, and most SLs were 2-seaters, but now you got 4 seats standard, front and rear. Although, as you can see, the back seats are pretty much so tiny that they're unusable, but they're there just like in a Porsche 911 or a lot of other cars of this ilk. And next up, another major change to the new SL The soft top is back. I remember when the 2003 SL came out now almost 20 years ago, thinking they've mastered a folding hardtop. There will never be a soft top convertible ever again. And now we've reverted back. The soft top has replaced the folding hardtop that SL models have used for the last 20 years. A few reasons for this. One is because it just looks better. Most people think a soft top is kind of sexier, more stylish, as opposed to the folding hardtop, which is more practical, which you're not really looking for from a roadster. But it also saves weight. Mercedes-Benz says a soft top saves around 50 pounds compared to a folding hardtop. Not that weight savings is really a huge goal. This is a more performance-focused SL, but it's bigger than the old car, about 5 inches longer than the outgoing model, likely due to the back seats, and it's heavier too. So even though this is all about performance, the top helps save weight, it's not smaller or lighter than the SL it's replacing. But anyway, while there are some major changes to the new SL compared to the outgoing model, you are also here to see quirks and features, and the new SL has quite a few, and let's start with one of the biggest, which is the operation of the soft top. I get in the car, I'm looking around for a button or a switch to put the roof down, and I can't find it. It's not under this panel where you might expect, and it's not in the center console where a lot of cars have it. So how do you do it? It's in the screen. You press this little button below the screen, looks like a convertible top, and that pops up a control for the top on the screen. Then you slide this slider over, and you have to hold it in place while the roof is going down, and that is how you put the roof down in the new SL. And now you can see it going down, and it looks very nice. Nothing particularly interesting or unusual there. Of course, if you want the roof to go back up, you go back into that screen menu, slide over the other direction to close the roof, and then the roof will start to close. As you can see, again, the roof is closing, and once again, nothing particularly special or unusual there, just sort of a soft top. The crazy thing is a screen menu to operate a convertible top. Never seen this before in any other car. But with that said, it's also important to point out that the top can be operated by just pressing that button. So if you push that button and hold it down, the top will do the opposite of whatever it's currently doing. So if it's on, you press and hold the button, it'll go down, and vice versa. If it's down, it'll come up. So you don't have to use the screen, but there is a top control in the screen. In fact, the screen is very important to the new SL, just like it is to so many modern cars, because so many functions are integrated into the screen. But this poses a unique problem for convertibles, because when the roof is down, there's usually so much glare that you can't see the screen. So Mercedes-Benz has thought of a solution. In this car, you can adjust the angle of your center touchscreen. You press this little button along the bottom of the screen here, and then a slider pops up on the screen that allows you to adjust the angle to find a better position that reduces glare as you're driving around. You can have it kind of higher up or further back, depending on exactly what works with the position of the sun in your car. Also a very cool idea. Now, this moving screen is beneficial for a lot of reasons. It allows you to see all the stuff on the screen, and one big benefit is it lets you easily see the backup camera, even with the roof down, which, like I said, can get washed out in convertibles. The backup camera here is fantastic. Take a look. You have a 360-degree camera all around the car, high quality. You can move it anywhere you want to look. Really, really good camera system in this car. Makes it very easy to back up and maneuver around, which is nice because convertibles don't always have great visibility, especially with the roof up. But beyond just the backup camera, the screen in this car, the infotainment system, is absolutely fantastic. This is Mercedes MBUX system, and it works great. Tremendously responsive, tremendously intuitive. Everything is exactly how you'd want it, how you'd expect. This really is, in my opinion, probably the very best infotainment system in the entire car industry. I love using it. I love how easy it is. It's really great. You have your climate controls at the bottom of the screen. Usually I don't love screen-based climate controls, but they take up a set position in the screen. They're always there. They don't move around, and so you always know exactly where they are, just like if they were buttons. Overall, this is a fantastic infotainment system and a fantastic screen setup in this car. Great technology. But there is more to talk about in terms of screens, like, for example, the screen buttons in this car. Yes, take a look at the steering wheel. You have two little circles at the bottom that look like tiny screens. Those are actually controls. Over on the right part, that's a switch that lets you change the drive mode, and as you adjust it, the screen in the center of the switch actually changes what it's displaying to show you what drive drive mode you're in, which is pretty cool. A screen and control on the steering wheel, but it's even more impressive over on the other side because it's actually a button. You can see it's split into two halves, and if you press the upper half, it cycles through various different things you can control with this screen button, and same deal on the lower half. And you can see it adjusts things like your exhaust note, your shift speed, your auto start stop, the rear spoiler going up and down. You can change that all with this screen button split into two halves, and then you can leave on display on the screen the things that you adjust the most frequently, so they're right there at your fingertips. And then to adjust it, there are two little buttons coming off the little circle that you can push, and that actually changes whatever is displayed on the screen. The major benefit here is it means fewer overall buttons in this interior. Instead of a line of buttons for all these controls, they're all integrated into one control, which means less cluttered in the interior and a little bit more configurability. Kind of cool. You have screen buttons, and there's still more screen stuff in this interior, specifically the gauge cluster screen, which sits directly behind the steering wheel, which is also fantastic. I really like how much information it displays, how crisp it is, everything looks great, but I especially like just how configurable it is. This is the classic screen, which looks like a fairly traditional gauge cluster, but you can also do sort of a calmer screen, as you can see, if that's what you want. And you can do a full screen navigation map, so your map is displayed directly in your line of sight while you're driving, which is pretty nice. And you can do some cool sporty screens. Here is the sports screen, and you can see when you rev, it's far more interesting and exciting than just a regular tachometer. And there's even a super sports screen, which is even more performance-y than that and looks even more aggressive and excited. And these are all different screen configurations for this gauge cluster, which is kind of cool to see. A lot of configurability and a lot of screens and technology in this new SL. But as for quirks and features in this interior beyond what's on the screens, one cool feature is Air Scarf, which is Mercedes-Benz warm climate control system that comes out onto your neck. It comes from the seat directly behind you. This little opening here is a vent that can shoot out warm air if you get cold. And the way you use this is you press this little button on the door panel next to the heated and cool seat to turn on Air Scarf. The thinking is, if you want to drive around with the roof down on a cool day and you're afraid to get too cold, well, you can turn on your warm air blowing on your neck and it'll warm you up, an actual scarf of air, and that allows you to use your convertible top more frequently, which is pretty cool. Another cool feature in this car is a button to roll down all the windows at once. You have your little power window controls over here, just like any normal car, but there's also a button marked All. You push that, and then any power window button you press does the function you're pressing for all the windows. So if you roll down a window, they all go down, and if you roll up a window, they all go up. This is cool if you have a convertible, because you can put the top down and then roll all the windows down at once, rather than holding down each button individually. I love all window down buttons, and I wish regular cars had them, not just convertibles, but it's nice to see it here. And speaking of power-operated motorized things in the new SL, let's talk about the trunk, which is power-operated and motorized. To open it up, you have a button you can press on the key fob, or there's a little popper underneath the license plate area. You press it, and the trunk opens right up, and then you can get inside for your cargo. Now, still on the subject of motorized things and quirks and features, on the inside of the trunk you can see 4 buttons. 3 of them are pretty standard. On the right, you have the trunk open and close button and a lock. In the middle, you have this circular green button. That's actually the emergency inside trunk release. You press that if you get locked in the trunk, and you can climb out. There's no handle like in most cars. But the other button here is the real curiosity. It shows like a trunk with an arrow pointing to the floor. You may be wondering, what exactly is that? You push that button if you want more cargo space. And here's how it works. If you have the roof up and you press that button, then this little plastic panel will retreat up into kind of the ceiling of the trunk and give you more cargo space. You're thinking, well, why isn't that always down? Who doesn't want more cargo space? And the answer is, it's for the roof. If you press that button and get the additional cargo space, then the roof can't go down. So you have more space to put your stuff in the trunk, but the car can only be operated with the roof up. If you're not using all of your extra space, you can put the panel back into its lower position, and then the roof can function like normal and go up or down. Basically, this gives you the ability to have a fun convertible, but also get extra cargo room when you need it, just so long as you're okay with the fact that you can't use it as a convertible when you're using the cargo space. Now, as for the trunk in general, the cargo area overall, it's definitely smaller than the outgoing model. Like I said, the old SL was kind of famous for being like a car that old people would take golfing. The new one, I guess it fits a set of golf clubs, but it's gonna be tight. This is supposed to be a performance car, the performance focus and cargo space and practicality, definitely less of a focus for the new SL. Also worth noting around back, worth pointing out, something I very much like is the way that the taillights and the turn signals work. You can see when the taillights are on, it's this thin strip of like LED bricks that looks cool, but even cooler when the turn signals are on, that thin strip turns orange. So the red bricks become orange for the turn signals, which is a neat look, and it's sort of a thin, fun, exciting piece of lighting on the outside of this car. And beyond just the turn signal, frankly, I really like the way the new SL looks in general. I've said it several times, the old model was getting kind of boring, kind of pudgy and soft. This one looks way more focused, way more dedicated performance car, cooler, faster looking, more special, more stylish, frankly. It just is a vast improvement over the old SL in terms of design and styling. To me, it's a huge step forward and far more attractive than the previous car. And by the way, one thing preserving the attractive look of the new SL when it's driving along, the door handles are flush with the door whenever the doors are locked. This is a common thing that most cars are doing now. Press the unlock button, they pop out, and then you can reach in and easily open the door. But when the doors are locked, they're right up against the car for sort of a more streamlined, smoother look, which is nice to see. And by the way, speaking of things that pop out on the outside of the new SL, the rear spoiler. This is how you know it's more of a sporty performance car and less of a soft, comfy cruiser, because it has an active rear spoiler. Now, I'm sure it goes up at some speed, but you can also activate it yourself. That little button screen I showed you on the steering wheel, navigate over to the spoiler, press the button to pop it up, and then it goes up and back, as you can see. And then your rear spoiler is up so you can drive around and people will look at you and think you're cool. If you press that button a second time, then the spoiler goes right back down and the car has its sort of smoother look, which frankly I like a lot better than with the spoiler up. And finally, we move under the hood in the new SL, and like I said, it is the same twin-turbo V8 in both the SL55, this car, the base model, and the SL63, the upgraded faster version. Same twin-turbo V8, but different power. This car has around 470 horsepower, and the SL63 is around 580. Both are huge performance figures, and both sound pretty good. This engine has a good sound. Take a listen to the exhaust note. And also worth pointing out, like I've said, the new SL is AMG only. There's no regular version of this car. It's all AMG performance models, and that means a hand-built AMG engine with a little plaque telling you who built it, and you can see that person's name on this particular plaque, giving a little personal touch to this high-performance engine. All right, driving the new Mercedes SL. Count me as someone who is very skeptical of the SL because it has become this grand tour luxury car, not something that a car enthusiast would actually want to own. So could it actually be that Mercedes-Benz has created a sports car out of the SL? Okay, first order of business, from a sound perspective, I am in sport mode right now. It sounds fantastic. I love the way that this V8, oh, that's just great. It sounds good. It sounds like a sports car. Honestly, you know what it reminds me of is those early Jaguar F-types with those massive V8s that just sounded ridiculous. I got a friend who was pulled over by the police in one of those because he thought he had an aftermarket exhaust. He was like, no, it's factory. That's what this sounds like. Throaty and just very aggressive, very, very nice sound. The next question you will have is steering and handling. Does this thing actually steer and drive like a sports car? Short answer is yes. Long answer is a little bit longer. One thing, four-wheel steering is now standard on the SL as well. That's another change over the outgoing model. All of them have it. And so low-speed maneuverability, the car is quite maneuverable. Higher speeds, it just feels spry. It feels so movable and tossable. It's very quick to move around. Now, I happen to know that it weighs 4,500 pounds and it's 185 inches long, which is 5 inches long in the outgoing model. It's not a small car. It kind of looks like a small car, but it isn't one. And yet it drives like a small car. It has that that throw it around, toss it around kind of feel to it like you get from a Porsche. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not exactly trying to equate the new SL to a Porsche, at least in terms of steering and handling. I'm not quite there yet with it, but I'm not as far off as you might think. And the old SL is barely a memory when I talk about steering and handling. This car is on a totally different level. I mean, frankly, it's just more fun. It's just more enjoyable. Now, it does not have the precision that I would say that some of the top sports cars have. Frankly, it doesn't even have the precision that I would say like the F-Type, the best F-Type models have, but it's still good. I mean, that's not a big criticism anymore in today's world where so many cars just drive so well. It used to be that sports cars were pretty good and everything else was total crap. Now, everything steers and handles well, and that includes this. But it is a little bit more numb, not quite as precise and direct as some of the very best sports cars, the 911s and the supercars of the world. Still, it feels far better than the old SL, which really did have kind of a cruiser car attitude, just a luxury-focused vehicle that wasn't intended for fun, unless you got a big engine one, in which case you floored it and that was the only fun you really got. And then, of course, there's acceleration. 469 horsepower in this version. You step on it and it just hauls. It absolutely goes and goes and goes. It's incredibly fast, and I can imagine the SL63 must be absolutely wild. This is not a dual clutch automatic in this car. It's an old school torque converter, which probably slows things down by the tiniest amount, but it's not really perceptible, and it is still a very, very, very fast car. A lot of fun and very thrilling to accelerate. Clearly, this is a far better overall package than the outgoing SL. The old SLs had just become lazy cars that were sort of designed lazily. They were kind of slow and soft, and it just didn't have, there was not much excitement to them. They had become this cruiser car that old people bought, and this is on a totally different level. So my thoughts on the new SL. Is it actually more fun, more exciting? Yes, by far. Is it a 911? Not quite, but it's a far more focused enthusiast car. Are people actually going to buy it? Not entirely sure. It's really expensive. This version's $140. The SL63, that's starting, by the way. This one's got a 155 sticker. The SL63 starts at like $160. It's a $180,000, $190,000 car if you get a nice one that's well equipped. And that's big money. That's Audi R8 territory. That's like used Huracan territory. It's tough to imagine spending that much money on an SL, especially because this car doesn't have the name recognition it once did. But it's still a very desirable car. It's fast, it's fun, it's exciting, and I think it reinvigorates the SL. Unfortunately, maybe too late, because people are not really buying these types of cars as much as they were anymore. But at least the SL is cool again. We can say that for sure. And so that's the new 2022 Mercedes-AMG SL55. This definitely doesn't feel like the old SL, which had gotten so boring and cushy and floaty and just not all that great. This is a totally new car, and it's far more exciting than the old one. And now it's time to give the new SL a DOUGSCORE.
And the DOUGSCORE is here, 67 out of 100, which places the SL55 an amazing company against its rivals. It actually ties the new Porsche 911 Carrera S. But it's important to note that the 911 and the SL reach their same overall score in different ways. The Porsche has a higher weekend score, and the SL has a higher daily score. That makes sense, as the SL has a nicer interior, a better ride, and better tech. But the 911 is still more fun to drive. Overall, though, the SL makes a massive improvement over the old one, and it finally seems cool again.